Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Alice Cypress, you really are a charming woman, I have to say. I'm so glad you came to the studio this morning.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone.
Good morning to everyone out there. And, you know, Alice, when I get a lot of books, I mean, probably get 10 a week, and I have to look them over to figure what we're going to do. And your book was so cute. I wasn't quite sure. Is this a children's book? Is this a grown-up book? I'm not sure. It looks like it's supposed to be a children's book. Is that what you intended it for?
Yes, it is.
But
grown-ups enjoy it as well.
That's right. I told Alice it's called Scuba Zach Meets Thaddeus the Barracuda. Yeah, right. And the illustrations will just take your breath away because they are so beautiful. But you know, Alice, it's a lot about you. Before you even talk about your book, that I'm so impressed with, that you are a neonatal intensive care nurse. Why don't you explain what that is to people?
With the neonatal intensive care nurse is, you're working, it's called the NICU, and I work down at Broward Health Medical Center in Fort Lauderdale, and it's where mostly the babies that are in that unit are premature babies born anywhere from 20 some weeks up to 40 weeks. We do get, not well babies, but baby term babies that have difficulties in breathing or may have some type of, different, malformations that cause them to need additional care. But it's mainly for the premature babies. So we get a combination of both, but mostly premature babies there.
So you like to hug them and make sure that, because their mommy can't be there with them.
Some of them come, but depending on their size and age, the parents are not allowed to hold them in the very beginning, but they can come see them and just kind of look through the isolate or incubator, as most people know, to just kind of touch them maybe a little bit, you know, until they're old enough to be held and start eating and growing a little bit.
And I had a personal experience. My son was born 2 pounds, 14 ounces in the 7 days of the 7th month.
Wow.
One of my sons. And of course, that was back in 1958. And so they didn't have a lot of the wonderful stuff, but he was there for, I guess, almost a month before I got to bring him home. But of recent, I have, my grandchildren. I have triplet grandchildren who were born, and unfortunately my daughter-in-law wanted to keep them safe in her belly, so she held them too long, and they're perfect, but she wound up with what's that, when the water, when water in her body.
When it starts to disintegrate.
Yes. What happened, so she couldn't be with her children for at least 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But the little babies were fine, but I remember that the nurses in there just did such a beautiful job of taking care of these little wee babies. Oh, yeah. So that's what you do.
Yeah. It's rewarding because, you know, you get to see them start out at one size and age, and they grow and become normal little healthy babies,
right.
You know.
It was called eclampsia.
Yes.
That's what she had. But they're perfect now. They're 10 years old and they're absolutely wonderful. And so, but I remember how important that was, when she was little. So I understand a lot of your wanting to get through to these children as they've grown up and give them something interesting to know about. So let's go to Scuba Zach. Where'd Zach come from?
I just wanted, as far as the name, I just wanted something that was a little bit different, than the normal name, you know. There were so many different names I thought of, but for some reason, Zach just kind of stuck with me and decided to just name the scuba diver Zach.
Right. And tell us about your experience. Now, you like to go scuba diving, but you were very cute about saying you need to take pictures.
I do. I love scuba diving, and my husband and we dive a lot, and he goes for the thrill and adventure of going through the different ships and just the excitement of that. But for me, if I can't take pictures, I won't go. And because I just love taking pictures and being able to get out of the water, and after I'm home, looking over the pictures just to see exactly what I got and how great they are.
So tell me about the fish, and do you think that they know who you are? Tell me, what is it like? Because I don't do scuba diving. What is it like when you see those fish? Do you get to touch them? Tell us all about
no,
that.
I don't touch anything down there because there's some things, you're not supposed to touch, and there's some fish that are poisonous. Some have different little spines on them. And, there's even just touching a rock. Sometimes you think it's a rock and it's not a rock. It could be a scorpion fish or something else. So the best thing is not to touch anything while you're down there. And then as far as the coral, touching the coral, you would damage the coral anyway. So it's just, the best thing is to touch nothing. Some of the fish sit and let you take pictures of them. Some don't. Sometimes it takes me 4 or 5 shots before I can get a good shot of a picture. But I am very patient and I wait, because if it's something I really want to take a picture of, I will wait. And my husband's tapping and yelling at me on the water saying, let's move on. And I'm still snapping pictures.
So what do you do with those pictures?
I have them on my laptop. We download them on the TV so that we can look at them on the big screen. And when my nieces and nephews come to visit, I show them the pictures and they're excited. And I wanted to put it into a book, because there's a lot of children that don't know about scuba diving. There's some that snorkel but have never really gotten down to see what's underneath the water. Many kids go to the beach, but it's just about going to the beach and playing in the water and in the sand, and they have no idea the beauty that's underneath that water. So I wanted to write a book to show them what's under the water, and I wanted them to know the name of the different fish, which are very impressive names that you would never think of, and just share my adventure with them.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was saying smooth trunk fish, trumpet fish, spotted drumfish, squirrel fish. And so how did you learn about the names of all the fish?
We have books, and sometimes when I get home after a dive and I have a fish that I'm not familiar with, we flip through the book until we find that fish and the name of that fish. And then I always write it down. I have a dive log and I write everything that I see. I write it down so I won't forget, or if I want to go back to refer back to it, I have it in the dive log, what I saw on that particular dive and where it was and the date that I went.
I'm talking to Alice Cypress, and she wrote the book Scuba Zach Meets Thaddeus, the Barracuda. Thaddeus, the
Yes.
Barracuda. And the illustrations are by Blueberry Illustrations. The illustrations are magnificent. So if you're looking for a gift, for a grandchild or for someone who's interested in underwater diving, this is the book. It's a paper. It's like, I guess you call it paperback.
Yes.
It's paperback, but it's shiny. It's beautifully, beautifully done. Very inexpensive. And the thing I didn't bring with me is my little Barracuda.
Yes.
We didn't talk about that.
Yes.
Now, why don't you explain what it is? Because it's so cute and I have it sitting there. Go ahead.
My husband mentioned to me with another book that I wrote that I should make a stuffed toy to go with it, and I didn't do it with the first book, and I decided to do it with this one. So, my mom came to visit and I drew a pattern, and we went to the store and bought a sewing machine and sat down until we got this pattern and this Barracuda together, and I matched it with the one in the book so that it would look exactly like Thaddeus. And it was very successful, and I'm very happy that I have the Barracuda to go with the book.
Well, I don't have the Barracuda because I took it down to the triplets and they fought over it. So I gave them the Barracuda. I took the book back because I told them I needed for this. But the Barracuda was just precious. So when you buy this book, it's the least expensive thing you could ever buy for one of your grandchildren. It's $14.95, and you not only get this beautiful book, which if you give this to a grandchild, they're going to sit there and maybe they can't read it themselves, but you can read it to them, but they're going to look through these pictures, which are so beautiful. These aren't photographs. These are illustrations. But then you're going to get this little wonderful Barracuda. So as they're being read to, they just take it and make it go through the water in a sense. It's a great thing. And I don't often do children's books like this, but it just caught me off guard. I loved it. And it's a perfect thing for Boomer Times because we have so many people grandparents who are reading this. And I tried to do this so that people could really understand how wonderful it is. When I think about this, you had to come up, it's all right for you to come up with pictures, but you had to come up with an idea of who Thaddeus is, who Scuba Zach is, and what the point of the story was. So how did you do that?
Well, with the scuba diver, we were actually down in Key Largo at John Penny Camp. We go down there and dive in the different reefs down there, and that's where we encounter most of the Barracudas. And the last time we went on a dive down there were several Barracudas, and I got back and I said to my husband, I said, Barracudas have such a bad reputation, and they're not bad. Everyone's afraid of them because of the stories they heard about the Barracudas. You can't wear shiny stuff while you're down there because they will attack you, and that they're just very dangerous fish. But I have not encountered that with them. They sit and they look at you and they will stare and won't move, but they've never done anything bad. So I said, I could put that storyline about the Barracuda's reputation in with the fact that we have all the bullying going on in the school systems, and people tend to form opinions. We do, even as adults, form opinions about people without getting to know them. And so I decided to do the storyline based on the scuba diver hearing stories about the Barracuda. And when he encountered him, he was afraid of the Barracuda because of the stories he's heard. And in the end, he finds out that the Barracuda is not even bad at all, that he's a sad fish because he has no friends because of his reputation. And I know that goes on in life a lot with people. And I just thought it was a good storyline for kids to read, and maybe they could make some changes in their schools.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad that you shared that with us, because that's, I saw one thing about Barracudas. They sure have sharp, big teeth.
They do. They look very mean, very mean.
And that's true. And you captured it. And of course, Zach, when he went down, he was a little bit nervous. What fish are you afraid of when you go down underneath the water?
For me, yes, I'm very afraid of sharks. My husband hates barracudas and I hate sharks. And he will go, any dive he goes on, West Palm and above, I don't go because I know there's lots of sharks. So I never go on dives where I know I'm going to encounter sharks. And he does just the opposite. But I am so afraid of sharks. I remember my first dive down here. We were living in Virginia and came down on vacation, and my first real dive down here, I encountered a shark, and my husband turns around looking for me, and I'm at the top of the water. And he's yelling at me, "You can't do that. You get your head cut off by a boat." But all I saw was shark, and I need to get out of here, and I was gone. And after that lesson, he's like, "I don't care what, don't ever do that again because you can die." And so I'm afraid, but I don't.
Not from a shark, but from a boat.
Exactly. But I just really don't like them. But, the nurse sharks I see down there, I'm fine with them. And so far, the only other tiger sharks and stuff like that I've experienced in the Bahamas. But I was able to maintain a little bit better and just hide behind him. And and I peeked from behind him and took pictures and videos, and, but as far as going on shark dives, that's just not me. I don't like that. So,
and I noticed I don't think you had any sharks in here. Now that you mention it, there are no sharks.
I don't, but I said that maybe in the next one, I'll add sharks and octopus and other different creatures in the next book, because, lots of people that have bought the book for their children, they come back and tell me that the children want to know when am I writing another one so that they can see if Zach's going to meet up with Thaddeus again. So it's giving me the idea to put out another one about Scuba Zach.
Well, and now that I know a little bit more about you, maybe you can put somebody in there they're afraid of sharks.
I guess that would be me.
Because that's quite an interesting story. Well, I definitely feel like you do. I mean, I don't even go scuba diving. I do snorkeling, and I like that. And even snorkeling, sometimes I see them and I think they're going to come up and get me.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. I mean, it's amazing, just to be down there and see what God has created that you don't get to see. It's amazing. I mean, it's a whole new world down there, a beautiful, colorful world down there. it's great.
Well, I'm very glad that you're doing this because it shows a few things. First of all, it shows that a person can be a nurse, can be anything they are, and yet they can still write books. This is kind of a masterpiece for me because it is not a big book, it's not a famous book, but whomever buys it will never be sorry. And especially now that I told you that you get a little Barracuda, what do we call it, a toy?
Yes, stuffed toy.
Stuffed toy with it. And it's only $14.95. It is so beautiful. I just can't. And can get on your website and they can see it?
Yes, you can go on tigerflybooks.com, and that's my website, and you can order the book, and Barracuda will be sent along with the book.
Tigerflybooks.com. And the illustrations are just gorgeous, and I see little crabs, I see all sorts of colored fish, and I think that your grandchildren will never get rid of this book as they grow older. It's one of those favorite kind of books. It's a soft cover, but it's a very shiny cover, and the pictures are so brilliant and beautiful. I can't talk enough about this. I mean, I know you. I mean, I love this book, and so I'm going to take it now. I'm finished after the interview. I'm going to. Well, actually, we're going to need it for the Boomer Expo because we're going to be using it. But after that, I'm going to take it down to the triplets. I'm going to go through this with them. I don't know. I hope the dog didn't get the stuff. In the time that we have left, though, I'd like you to share about your other book that I didn't see your book before you just came in with it. Why don't you talk about, because you definitely are a writer, even though you're a neonatal nurse, you are a writer.
Thank you. Well, my first book is called Kobe the Dog Boy. It came out in 2014. And it's a book about my little dog. I have a dog named Kobe. He's a Yorkie and Poodle mix, completely black. And that book, I was inspired to write that book because my husband, ever since we've had the dog, believed that Kobe talks. And he tells me what Kobe tells him to tell me, and he tells Kobe to talk to me. And so I decided one day to ask him, what if we woke up one morning and Kobe was still black and furry, but was talking and standing up on his hind legs and using the bathroom. And he said that would be awesome. So it just gave me the idea to write that book about him. And that's what the book is about, us waking up one morning and Kobe is like a little furry human, and he's using the bathroom inside and talking and walking around and watching TV. And it's a great, fun little book. And once again, it's called Kobe the Dog Boy, and it's also on my website as well.
And how much would that cost if someone wants
that book is $9.95.
Okay, so that's, and I haven't read this book. It's like, because I just saw it when Alice came in, but I have to tell you that, can you only write books about animals?
It seems that way.
Well, I was thinking because you deal with all these little babies. That probably is maybe on your horizon.
Well, I guess it was a children's book thing just because I see so many children that, they're into the game systems and the phones. And I remember as a child flipping through books, even when I couldn't read them, I made my own stories by just looking at pictures. And there's such a problem with literacy in Florida, and I'm pretty much worldwide. And I just think that children should get back into reading books more, and the parents should read books to them, even as babies, or even reading to them in the womb. And
wait, stop that. Say that again now. I think I heard that word. Talk about reading to the womb.
Yeah, reading to the babies in the womb. I think it's great. I remember my sister doing it when she was pregnant years ago, and there's nothing wrong with it. They get to hear your voice, and you're starting them out, and who knows what the impact will be later on in life, And for me, I like books because I like the feel of the paper between my fingers, and it's just always been something that I enjoy doing. And
well, I hope for our listeners, who of course are very loyal readers also, go to the January issue on page 18, and you will see the book review that I wrote. about Scuba Zach meets Thaddeus, the Barracuda. And then you'll see the pretty picture of Alice. And Alice, you've really lived quite a life. I mean, you know, I guess in the service and all. I mean, you've, how did you meet your husband?
Believe it or not, I met my husband because I could not swim. And he was my swim instructor.
This is really funny. He was your swimming instructor.
I was determined as an adult to learn to swim, and I took swimming lessons, and after about a month, he showed up on the scene and said, I'm your instructor through the next level, and I was probably the worst student he would ever have in life. But I went from learning to swim to now I'm diving. So he did a very good job with me.
He did. That's very impressive that you learned to swim at a later time.
Oh,
and
yes.
Now you're really doing what I've been a swimmer since I'm very little. I was really a big swimmer. And yet I don't do what you do underneath. I do have a fear about it.
My husband's very athletic, and the water is everything to him. And, you know, he will push you to do great things. And I watch him teach the kids swim lessons, and he's just an awesome teacher, and he has to be awesome to teach me. And I know he probably has never ran across anyone like me before and never will. But here I am today. I'm a scuba diver now.
And you're an author.
I am.
And you're on the radio.
Yes, I am.
You're really growing up here pretty fast, aren't you?
Great things.
Is your mother still around?
She is.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, she just asked me the other day, how many more Barracudas do you have? Do we need to get together and I need to come down so we can make more? And I'm like, I think I'm okay for right now. But she's pushing it. She want to make sure I have enough.
The fact she went out and bought a sewing machine, so you're her little girl. I can just hear how this is for you.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, she's, you know, ever since we were kids, she knew how to sew. She used to make clothes for us. So I knew she knew what to do with the sewing machine. I didn't remember, but she did, and she would sew, and then we would stuff, and I would put the teeth in the mouth on, and it was great. She brought a friend with her that helped out as well, and it was a great thing.
Alice, this is a great interview. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect, of course. I thought we were just going to talk about the book, but there's a lot going on in your life, and it's lovely. I thought maybe if in the little time we have left, I don't know where your favorite, I don't think we have time to read the whole book, but what your favorite place is, and why don't you find some place that you really like and just read it to people so they get the feeling of what you would really
actually
like.
For me, I think my favorite part is just about the sea turtle, because I have actually experienced sea turtles underwater, and they seem like they're very slow movers, but believe me, you cannot keep up with them. I've tried videotaping, and I can videotape, and I swim, and I'm out of breath, and before I know it, they've turned and went in a different direction, and I'm still huffing and puffing. So, because they look slow, they're not slow. And there's actually, a little page in the book about me Scuba Zach encountering a sea turtle. And it says, as I swim along the reef, a sea turtle goes by on cruise control. By the looks of his shell, he appears to be pretty old. I swam next to him and took video for about 10 feet, but the cruise he had set I could not beat. And I just love that, because that is so true about that turtle. And then the next page it go on to say, as he made a left turn and disappeared out into the blue sea, I went back to the reef to find something else to interest me. So he beat me, and I had to go on with something else in my own true experience with sea turtles.
Well, let me tell you then, we only have a couple of minutes. But I do want to tell you a little turtle story. I think I can get it in a time. But please do go to her website, tigerflybooks.com. and buy the book. It's $14.95. You'll get the Barracuda little toy with it. And let me tell you about a sea turtle. We lived up in Jupiter Island, and we lived over there where the ocean was, and there are huge rocks where we lived. All I knew is I was looking out the window, and I saw porpoises going back and forth. And I looked, wasn't that interesting? Well, what happened is a sea turtle had come in, one of the big turtles had come in tried to get over to the rocks.
Wow.
And maybe when the tide was out or in, it was there and they couldn't get back. I think it was laying eggs, couldn't get back out. And the porpoise or the dolphin, it was a dolphin. Dolphin. They were letting us know that something was happening. So a few of us went out and we got some boards that we had to pick the turtle up and get it off of because it was bleeding. It got caught on the rocks and get it back out into the water.
Oh,
so that was my
wonderful.
experience.
That was great.
So anyway, thank you for being here. I loved having you, and thank you for taking care of all those babies. Good luck, and we'll have to have you back again when your next book comes out.
Yes, hopefully soon. Maybe next year.
Okay.
Yes.